Greetings, YouTube. My name is Lisa, and this is Mystically Soul. So, I came on here today to talk about speaking your truth and releasing expectations. In my healing journey, in my experience, speaking my truth has been a really important part of the healing process. Now, a lot of times when we speak our truth, it may be maybe not from the most loving place. We may not be healed, right? So, if somebody insults us or, is like doing or saying something that we feel like we're being attacked, we may respond depending on our astrological placements and our personal experiences and whatnot. We may respond from an unhealed place. We may respond by yelling. We may respond by, being passive aggressive and ignoring the person. There's, a multitude of unhealed responses that can come from, some sort of reaction, right? Now, then there's the concept of, being passionate about something, or just, feeling as though you are compelled to speak on something. And so, you speak your truth in that way. Again, it could either be from an unhealed or a healed place. Now, how do you heal your voice? Like, how do you come from a place of love rather than from a place of hurt? This is something that I am still working on. So, healing is a journey. It's not a destination. So, I'm not like this 100% healed person coming to you, telling you, what to do for your own personal healing. Like, your own personal healing journey is your own personal healing journey. What I'm trying to do here is kind of give you my experience, what I've learned, and hopefully it'll help you or help somebody, take a path that is more beneficial or more constructive in their lives. So, obviously, when you're on a healing journey or whatever, you're trying to emotionally heal. You're trying to heal the wounds from your childhood, heal the wounds from, or just kind of unlearn the conditioning, like, so for example, in my own personal life, as a child and a young person, I felt like I was not heard. And so, in order for me to embrace my shadow and incorporate my shadow and heal my shadow self, it's been important for me to express myself and be heard, even when it's not the, pretty and fluffy and light and positivity, right? I think that's a misconception in the spiritual community, because many people who are healing and on a healing journey are also tapping into their spirituality, tapping into their personal connection with their higher self, spirit, God, whatever you want to call, the life force that animates us, but is also, where we receive like divine messages from, right? So I think sometimes we may think that, it's a straight line from I'm unhealed to I'm healed, and then I'm going to just speak from a healed place or act from a healed place. That's obviously not true. And we can see that on a collective level, right? Like we can see our favorite people who mess up and make mistakes and say the wrong things, people who we thought were people who we could trust or people who had integrity, and then they end up, kind of switching it up on us. So we can see how, you know, people who may have something special that we see in them, or, like this beautiful thing about them, we can also see how maybe they're not healed and how they could be speaking or acting from an unhealed place. So again, talking about my own personal experience, not being heard, not being taken seriously, it's been something that I've engaged in adulthood, or at least since this awakening, where I will no longer, be silenced. Like if I feel something, I'm going to speak on it, right? So I'll take my my social media, like on Instagram, pretty consistently. I talk about justice for Black Americans and reparations. Just side note, if you ever want to see who's really down for you, talk about getting justice for Black Americans. Because really quickly, people will just kind of poof, disappear from your life. It's a really, really interesting thing. Try it out. Be prepared to definitely, maybe you've had this experience with other things that you do or talk about. Like I noticed that, some people just constantly post like photos of themselves posing and in these wacky outfits, and like nobody likes it. So obviously they're doing it for, again, like this is how they need to express themselves, right? So, dressing in, not a lot of clothing, like revealing outfits and posing, that could be a way that, you're using your voice, right? You're speaking your truth. For me, speaking my truth is, also tied with my shadow, though, in that, you know, because because I perceived that I was silenced, that I wasn't taken seriously, that the issues that mattered to me weren't taken seriously. Again, because, just to kind of like jump down the rabbit hole of my life, I grew up with my grandparents who were Jewish and therefore white. In a mostly white town. I went to temple with mostly white people. I went to a boarding school that was mostly white. I went to a college that was mostly white. So many, if not most of the people that I know and grew up around were white. Okay, so as a non-white person, as a biracial person, as a Black person, you know, that was my perspective, right? That was my experience. And, while I tried to assimilate, and my personality is sort of like go along to get along anyway, because I'm a Libra rising, and Libra risings, if you know anything about them, it's like they don't really want to rock the boat. Also, my first house is in Libra, and so that means that since I'm an Aries sun, my Aries is in the 7th house, which is tied to partnerships and relationships. So, so my identity is very much tied into other people, what other people think of me, how other people perceive me. And so, again, everybody's experience is different. Everybody has like a different blueprint. Your astrological placements, I like to kind of think of them as like the blueprint of your personality. And so for me, you know, coming into my awakening, sorry, I'm trying to light this incense right now. Coming into my awakening a few years ago, I was like really, really angry at all the experiences that I had that were kind of fucking racist, right? And like, and you know, I mean, obviously there's also, you know, not having necessarily, you know, black friends and family around me to sort of ground me or like lessen the sting of what I was experiencing. I feel like if you do grow up with, you know, black family and, you know, you have like black friends and stuff, you know, I think that there's just kind of like this feeling like, you know what? That's just how those people are. You know, don't even worry about it. You know what I mean? We're going to do us over here and, you know, we'll let those people over there do whatever. But there really wasn't that. So it was just kind of like all inside me, stewing and bubbling and, you know, not really any place for that energy to go. So, you know, obviously, as an Aries sun, I took to social media and, you know, let him have it. Partly because I wanted to be heard and I wanted to express myself, speak my truth, maybe not from a totally healed space, although I'll talk about that, what that entails. But also there was a part of me, and there still is a part of me, that wants people to admit something that they're not going to admit. Okay, they're just not. Okay, and this isn't just white people. This is non-black people, Asian, Latino, and also black people. Like they're, you know, the things that I post. It's not like, oh, every black person I know will, or black American person I know will like the post. Like actually, not at all. Why that is, you know, who knows? I mean, maybe they think that I'm virtue signaling. Maybe they think that I'm doing too much, or this isn't really your lane, you know, or maybe they just don't see it. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they're not there for politics. Who knows, right? There could be a multitude of reasons. However, I do think it's interesting that, you know, if I take a selfie or something, that will get like 20 to 30 likes. Whereas if I post something in regards to, you know, the unfair treatment of black Americans, the, you know, amazing and beautiful contributions of black Americans, you know, that'll get like 2 or 3 likes. So, you know, there's obviously something going on, and it's not just the algorithm, it's you know, that people don't resonate with the message that I'm sending, right? So, in terms of, you know, what I think now, so like a couple days ago, I just posted something. It was like, you know, a video of a newscaster talking about, you know, all of the buildings that were built by black Americans, like tons, like, you know, the White House and the Capitol building and Thomas Jefferson or somebody like that. Like his home was built and run by enslaved people. You know, I mean, don't even get me started. Why they don't do a television show like Downton Abbey for, you know, Thomas, like the House of Thomas Jefferson, like why they don't do stuff like that. I think that would be a very interesting show, even though like less about them being enslaved and more about them sort of just living their lives, running this this estate. But anyway, so it was that, and just like a few pictures of, you know, inventions and the inventors, Black American inventors and their inventions. You know, just reiterating that, you know, Black Americans built the country, Black Americans are owed reparations, you know, and again, like no response, like 2 or 3 likes. You know, shout out to the people, those 2 or 3 people that like my posts. You're down for me, you ride for me, and I love you, and I will you know what I mean? Like, do anything for you. But, you know, as far as everybody else goes, that's kind of where part of the message is, you know, plant the seed, speak your truth, but release expectations. Because, you know, for a long time, I was really mad. Like, I was really mad at, you know, the non-black people, white, yellow, red, whatever. I was really mad about that. And then, like, a year went by, still posting things occasionally. Then I was, like, really mad at black people. I'm like, why aren't you guys at least, like, you know, giving me some positive feedback on a mass scale? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's, like, 2 or 3, or, you know, whatever, a few black people who would like what I'm posting, but there's people that I know who should be like down for it and aren't. I'm just kind of like, why? You know what I mean? Like, are you scared? Do you feel like you're going to lose your job? Is that who you are? Are you cowardly? Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, kind of like going through all of these, you know, doing a lot of like mental gymnastics, and it's really not kind of contributing anything to my life other than just being like annoyed and frustrated and losing my faith in humanity. And that wasn't helping me to heal my heart. So what used to happen was I would post something, I wouldn't get the response that I wanted, and then it was almost like spirit was telling me like, okay, you need to like go sit down and just like have a seat, metaphorically speaking, you know, if that's like just kind of like removing myself from social media a little bit, you know, doing my meditation consistently, you know, if it meant fasting or whatever occasionally, or, you know, just taking care of myself, self-care, journaling, whatever, right? But this most recent post, like, really didn't kind of have me in my feelings. I was like, okay, you know, the people who liked it, cool, whatever. And I'm glad that I have solidified my stance. Because I kind of feel like anybody who looks me up, like, oh, remember that girl I used to go to school with? What was her name again? Oh yeah, what is she up to? They go check, and you know, and they're gonna see what's up on my timeline. So it's like, you know, a record of where I stand on the issue, and I like that. I mean, call it ego, call it self-righteous, call it whatever you want to call it. You know, I part of the reason why I'm speaking my truth is because I don't want to live with regret. Like, I don't want to be 80 years old and be like, oh yeah, I never stood up for what I believe in because I was scared and I wanted people to feel comfortable. Nah. You know, like, I don't want people to be comfortable. Like, our society is messed up, and this, I mean, you know, it sort of feels like the only time you're able to address racism is when somebody's, like, egregiously murdered. You know, when somebody's, you know, unarmed and running away, you know, that's the appropriate time to talk about racism. Like, fuck that. You know, so it was the kind of thing where, you know, I don't want to live with regret, and I did want to be on the right side of history. So I feel like I accomplished that. Is my calling in life to, like, put racism in everybody's, or not racism, but put, like, you know, we need justice, let's get justice. You know, I don't think that that's my purpose. Then again, I'm a manifesting generator. For anybody who knows human design, a manifesting generator is kind of all over the place. Like, you know, we'll have like 10 different projects going on, and you know, that's kind of like a normal thing for us. And so I sort of feel like, you know, this is just kind of like one of the things that I do, among other things, right? You know, but again, I'm like, you know, what is the constructive value? And, is it taking away from my healing? Is it preventing my growth and development on a spiritual level? So these are some of the questions that I've been kind of asking myself in the past day or so since I made that post. Another thing that I was thinking about, and this is kind of not really, it doesn't really pertain to speaking your truth and releasing expectations, but just in terms of spiritual growth, this book that I'm reading about the Anunian tree of life, which is the ancient Kemet, their concept of tree of life, right? So you have the Kabbalistic tree of life. There's several tree of lives. I think that the Kemetic tree of life came before the Kabbalistic tree of life, but I do study both. But in the Kemetic tree of life, it said that the middle path is sort of the path to kind of spiritual awakening. There's anger and sadness, there's excitement and passion, but just kind of not allowing yourself to kind of swing emotionally, right? So you don't want your thoughts to go here and there all over the place, but you also don't want your emotions to swing back and forth. The best way to channel your higher self and to kind of awaken your divine self, I guess you could say, is to be neutral. To kind of release yourself from desire, release yourself from passion, release yourself from worry, the mundane trivialities or whatever of life, and that kind of stuff. So that also had me thinking, even though this is something that I'm passionate about, and even though I do feel as though I'm righteously speaking my truth, perhaps I'm evolving from that, right? So it's this whole healing journey is evolution. And I think in part it's important, not necessarily important, but, be mindful of not getting stuck somewhere and being that's where I am, this is where I'm hiding out on my healing journey, and I'm not going to evolve past this point, right? It's your choice. You have free will to evolve or not to evolve. And if you choose not to evolve, that's fine, but it may hamper your growth and development on a spiritual level. So I'm seeing how, I want to do things differently. I still want justice, but maybe I need to kind of go about it a different way, not by coalition building, okay? I don't have a problem with coalition building. I don't think coalition building has worked for Black Americans. I think that every other group builds coalitions because every other group isn't as big of a threat. Every other group hasn't been subjugated and oppressed in the same way. Every other group sort of benefits off of the oppression. So it's they'll build coalitions with African Americans, and then somehow they'll end up getting all the benefits. And then, Black Americans are left still fucked. And, and the reason why I'm going on this little rant right now is because somebody in my life once told me, well, maybe you need to work on coalition building. Maybe your approach is a little too harsh, and, you should work on building coalitions. And I thought about it, and I observed how things happen, on a collective level, in terms of the United States of America, on a political level. And I see very clearly, no, Black Americans actually don't need to build coalitions with anybody. Black Americans, if anything, need to separate. No offense. No offense. I don't want to separate. I want kumbaya. I want everybody to like get along and, hold hands. That little picture where it's like everybody around the world, like different colors holding hands. I want that shit. I just don't necessarily think that non-Black people want that. Really, truly, subconsciously, I don't necessarily think that. I think that there is some sort of subconscious threat that people feel towards Black Americans, and so I don't think that the Kumbaya Coalition is something that is going to actually come to fruition. I mean, I could be totally cynical. Please let me know down in the comments if you think that I'm, just like an incurable cynic. I just feel like that's just how I feel. And I feel like the anti-Blackness is so embedded in this society that some major catastrophic event will have to occur in order for that Kumbaya Coalition to occur. Like people, millions of people will have to die, electricity taken out, like it's going to have to be end of days, apocalyptic, in order for people to finally see Black Americans' humanity and value us. Because at that point, then it's going to be like level playing field. The system as it exists will no longer be sort of like pulling the strings and poisoning minds. Again, not that I want that, but I don't necessarily see any other way. But I digress. Speaking your truth, releasing expectations. In order to speak your truth, I think it's really important to build confidence in yourself and, let go of worrying what other people think of you. That's kind of first and foremost. Another really kind of integral part in all of this is doing some shadow work, doing some chakra work, right? So the shadow work piece is, okay, so if I felt like I had been silenced as a child, what can I do to heal that, heal my inner child, right? So, you can go, I guess maybe people call it like a vision quest, or you could just imagine, yourself as a child, or whenever you felt like, you were hurt or mistreated, and, really hug yourself, in your mind, hug yourself, tell yourself, I'm here now, like everything's fine, like it worked out, like you will be heard, right? And so just sort of like reminding the child within you that, they matter, they're important, what they have to say is important. This is part of what it means to subconsciously plant in your mind that, that child who was suppressed is no longer and can speak out, right? So that's part of like the healing and the building of the confidence. Another thing that you can do, like I said, is the chakra work, right? So, you have the root chakra, which kind of deals with security, feeling like, safe, feeling protected, feeling cared for, feeling, that you have the resources you need to live and comfortably. So that's more of the root chakra. The sacral chakra is emotions, feelings, it could also be like sensuality or sexuality, So the sacral chakra is actually a really important part of being able to speak your truth, right? If you feel not heard, if you lack confidence, you could feel like, well, if I do speak my truth, nobody's going to hear me, nobody's going to listen to me, I could get laughed at, I could get ridiculed, right? So that sort of resides in the sacral chakra. And, working on healing and balancing the sacral chakra, could look like using crystals like carnelian. It could be doing Reiki. I certified myself in Reiki, so I could practice Reiki on myself. I haven't done it in a while, but, when I had learned the Reiki and was certified in Reiki, I was pretty consistently using it. And I think that really was helpful in healing and balancing my chakras. Affirmations, also chakra affirmations. I have my little chakra affirmation. Let me see if I can find some sacral chakra affirmations. Right. So I allow creativity to flow through me freely. Right. So you could just kind of Google, chakra affirmations, go to the chakra that you want to heal, or, if you wanted to make a poster, you could put multiple affirmations on a piece of paper, or you could have these little cards. I mean, however you want to do it. But again, consistently, telling yourself, my emotions are free-flowing and balanced. I allow creativity to flow through me freely. I like doing chakra affirmations in the morning. I don't do them every morning. I probably should, but, it's a good time to do affirmations because, your subconscious mind is still very open and active because you're in between dreaming and waking. And so, it's a really good time to kind of program the subconscious mind. I am enough. Oh, wait, I think that's actually, you know what? I think that's the root chakra. Yeah, that's the root chakra. Okay, let's see. I honor the sacred body in which my soul resides. That's the sacral chakra. It is my birthright to receive pleasure. So those are a few sacral chakra affirmations. So besides the chakra healing and balancing, obviously, also your throat chakra is really important. So work on the sacral chakra, and then also the throat chakra. There's also healing tones, like healing frequencies. So on YouTube, if you put in throat chakra healing music, you'll get a whole bunch of stuff that you can sort of listen to, and, try it out, play around. You could have a day where you do the root chakra, a day where you do the sacral chakra. So you do your sacral chakra affirmations, and then you listen to sacral chakra music. Maybe you use some scents and oils, or wear orange. If you're doing throat chakra, you'll wear blue. So let's see. Some throat chakra affirmations. I am open, clear, honest, and calm in my communication. I am aligned with my highest truth. I am a divine receiver, and I'm gentle with my words. So these are a few throat chakra affirmations. Again, if you're trying to speak your truth and, you're kind of I don't know, shadow work, identify where this shyness and the sheepishness is coming from, and sort of go back and work on releasing that. The full moon is a great time to release. So that's also, if you do your shadow work and you've journaled and you're kind of pretty clear on where it came from and you're ready to release, when the moon is full, light a candle and kind of speak into the candle. I let go and release being shy and not being able to speak my truth. I let go and release the fear of ridicule and rejection. I let go and release the fear of judgment. I let go and release not being clear and honest in my communication, right? So, or you could write it down on a piece of paper and burn it in the fire. There's a bunch of different full moon rituals or ways that you can do a full moon ritual to release. So that's, again, something that you can look up on YouTube. Right. And then finally, like releasing the expectation. Expectations, I feel like, come from the ego, come from an unhealed ego. So it's one thing to kind of build up the courage to actually speak your truth. It's another thing to be healed enough to accept whatever comes with that. Okay, so, and that's emotional maturity, that's healing, being healed, so again, like, it's a process. It's not like, oh, I'm healed, it's done, signed, sealed, delivered. It's always evolving. It's always a process that, you kind of like, might go back 2 steps, might go forward 3 steps, so try not to judge yourself too harshly, and try not to be disappointed or mad at yourself for when you maybe do speak your truth from an unhealed place and it isn't necessarily received the way you want it to be received. Or even if you're expressing yourself from a healed place and it's not received the way you want it to be received. Either way, you're speaking your truth because it's something that lives inside you that needs to be shared. Now, if I give you this piece of paper and I say, here, take this piece of paper, and you're like, oh, I really don't want it, I can't be like, oh, why don't you want this piece of paper? Take the piece of paper, take the piece of paper. Like, you don't want it, and I need to accept that you're not ready to receive it. Everybody's at a different place. Everybody's in a different space. Try not to take it personally. I did for a long time. I'm letting go of that, thankfully. Not completely. It still kind of stings when there's people who, like, for example, there's several friends that I had growing up, good, close friends, that are no longer my friends. They don't talk to me. They don't speak to me. Why? One of them I had a falling out with over basically white supremacy and her not admitting that the system of white supremacy is a thing. And even that I kind of feel bad about, because it's like, I shouldn't have insisted that she admit anything, right? Like, she doesn't want to believe that the system of white supremacy exists. And maybe in her world it doesn't exist. I think for a lot of people, black, white, other, they don't want to believe that, there's a system set up, an anti-black system that's set up. It's something that I think, and I'm not going to say like, oh, it is, it's the truth. It's my truth. That's my reality. I also feel like black people are totally, in 100 years, going to be ruling this land. That's just what I think is going to happen. So, maybe in part the reason why I'm like pushing people to sort of admit what's going on is to help them move along in their evolution, right? I feel like it's a part of everybody's evolution to just be honest about what occurred in history, to be honest that we need to do better, to be honest that atonement is a thing, and you can't be like, oh yeah, that happened, but that has nothing to do with now. Like, what? You draw a line from history to now. Like, how does it not matter? We have to atone for our sins. But again, I digress. Yeah, so I had a falling out with that friend. Lauren, I apologize. I wish you the best. I hope you are well. But several other friends that I didn't have any falling out with, they pretty much like ignore my social media, and I think I know why. They knew me as the type of person who was very go along to get along. Like, I was their go-to Black friend who, I wasn't like the others, right? Or whatever. And so now all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, Lisa's way too Black. What is she doing? And it's not even that I'm too Black. It's just I have a thing now that I believe in, and I actually always did. I just didn't really feel comfortable talking about it. And of course, as things have, if we've come into consciousness, this is something where it's like, oh my gosh, it's like unavoidable. So it's part of who I am, and it kind of showed me like, okay, they liked who I was then, and they don't like who I am now, and that's okay, right? People grow apart. Again, not taking it personally. I'm still going to speak my truth. Speaking your truth also means that, you might draw to you people who can relate, right? So I do find that I am magnetizing people who have the same fire in their belly when it comes to, the system that we're living in. And that's good, right? Like, that's what you want to draw to you your soul family. And you do that by open, clear, and honest communication. Healed or unhealed, right? So if you're unhealed and you're open, clear, and honest in your communication, you'll draw to you other people who are also maybe unhealed, but feel like, yeah, that resonates. What she's saying resonates. So I kind of like that also about speaking your truth. And again, when you release the expectation, you'll be surprised, oh, this person popped into my life, and, it could maybe only be like one or two people, but at least it's one or two people who are on the same page as you. You're not alone, right? Speaking your truth means you're putting it out there, where you're at, and there could be other people at the same place, right? So it makes having a truth less cumbersome, less lonely, less like baggage, and more like, like something that, something that you believe in, and that means something to you, that's important to you. And that's important to other people, right? So, so that's just like a few thoughts on speaking your truth and releasing expectations. I don't know if there's anything else I want to really say on it. This video is already pretty long. And, so I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about what I've spoke about today. Don't disregard the importance also of planting a seed. Like, it could be that some people aren't necessarily ready to receive the information and respond in the way that you want them to respond, but that doesn't negate it doesn't negate that you may be planting a seed that will grow, right? That will grow into something. And so, that has value, and that has importance as well, So, again, that's kind of like all I wanted to say. I hope you guys all, are doing well on your healing journey. Please let me know down in the comments what has been your experience on speaking your truth and releasing expectations. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.